Aegon spent his whole 2-week run as king trying not to turn out like Viserys. Now look at him, stunned like his daddy and putting Lil Wayne and Birdman to shame. Back to the world of Westeros we go for House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 5. I know this episode got mixed reviews. It was a nice little cool down after the Battle of Rook's Rest last week, which I'm grateful for, but a lot of people, y'all want the action, y'all want the spectacle. I get it. And I promise I'm not saying the following to sound pompous, but if you read Fire and Blood, I feel like you enjoyed that episode a lot more because you know all the things that we just watched them set up. So much so that I struggled to make my notes for this show because I don't want to spoil the rest of it for y'all. So if you are in that category of people who didn't like this episode and didn't watch Fire and Blood, I'm not even telling you you have to go read it, even though this section is only 60 pages. I will tell you, watch the rest of the season and possibly the next, just because I don't know how they're going to tell the rest of the story, and just revisit this episode after some certain things play out. And as for the rest of this video, I am going to try my damnedest to not spoil anything that's going to happen for the rest of the book. If I start creeping into spoiler territory, I'm just going to say, this is very important and move right along without being too obvious, obviously. And they've already made some changes for the book, some that I think are excellent, some that I think are meh. So again, we don't know, but that's enough pretense. Let's get into the episode. So we start with the sea snake, my man Lord Corlys grieving the loss of his wife. And we really get a glimpse of, goddamn, this man has lost pretty much his entire nuclear family. Wife, brother, son. Well, he doesn't know his son's still alive yet. Actually, we don't know if his son's still alive now, but more on that later. Laena, all gone in tragic ways. It's not like one of them got sick or something. Like, no, all tragic. And we got to see Rhaenyra go through the same thing. And a constant theme that's been going out throughout this season is Rhaenyra has to deal with her emotions in private because she's queen now. She can't afford to be emotional in public, because we know the way that women are viewed in their emotions. That is going to come up later in her small council scene. Next, we got the dragon funeral parade, and god damn, does Team Green miss Otto Hightower, because they tried to run the same play from the Jacaerys playbook where he got decapitated and they're going to roll him through the neighborhood, but they tried to do it with a goddamn dragon this time. And I just feel like if Otto was there, he would have came in and be like, hey, maybe let's not show the whole city that the reason that the royal families in power can be killed. Maybe that's not a good idea. They even went throughout, and thank God the showrunners did this, they went throughout the entire small people. They went throughout the entire small folk and heard them say, wait, the dragons aren't God? They can be killed? Wait, what? And there's always this saying, what happens when you can make God bleed? Forget make God bleed. What happens when you can chop God's head off? And just side note, before we move on, Meleese was probably smelling crazy through the streets. Let's be honest. Rook's Rest is not close. Remember, Criston and them was gone for a fortnight while there was dominating battles on the way to Rook's Rest. It took them a little minute to get back, and they don't have formaldehyde and shit back then. So that dragon just been in the sun, just rotting and rotting away. Whole city reeking. One play they did get right, while they're sitting there portraying the dragon head, giving Aegon all the credit for Aemond's work. Aemond's other work, the burnt up body of Aegon, is being carried all throughout the back streets straight into the Red Keep. We get a nice little glaring, I don't know if I want to call it loving, let's call it concerned shot from Haelena through the hallway. We've been getting a lot of concerned shots from Haelena. Can we get Helena's usage rate up for the rest of the season? Please and thank you. They finally show Aegon's charred body onto the bed, and very gruesome scene, a lot of which I can't show due to YouTube guidelines, and I'm sure at some point one of it's going to get copyrighted. And they're showing Aegon's charred body. They talk about how his armor melted to his body, because thank God it's Valyrian steel, so he got to survive. But he's half air fried at this point. And that's kind of what led me to the crux of this video, is throughout the entire course of this season, Aegon has made a lot of allusions to, I don't want to be like my dad. I don't want to do this. I don't want to make the mistake my dad did. Even down to episode 1, bringing Jacaerys to the small council meeting. Because if you remember, episode 9, I actually made a whole YouTube short about how Aegon dealt with the way his parents loved him. Well, didn't love him. Like, hey, he's going to be king one day. Let's start this now so he doesn't end up like me, where one day he just wakes up and he's going to be king. That's a getting a master of whispers, firing Otto's hand, fucking up the Lego set, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of his moves were like, I will not be my father. And now look at him, stunned like his daddy in the bed. Look at him, all torn up. I hope they give him the gold mask too, just to make it like really overt. Why not? And Alicent is grieving in real time, part of it because that's her son, and the other part of it is, damn, the last thing I told him to do was do nothing. Now look at him, he literally can only do nothing. And then my man Maester Orwell, aka Black Maester, told Alicent in the most respectful way possible, please back the hell up and let me do my black job, please. This is important, you gotta go. Meanwhile, Aemond's standing over his work, looking as proud as he can look. He don't really smile. he don't do the whole smiling thing. So he's just standing over there like, somebody got to do some ruling, without saying another word. And then we cut to the Criston and Alicent scene, where apparently, if you're in the business of slicing and dicing, apparently to get all the little bits off your sword, lemon and salt. Who knew? And Criston looks shook in the room, not even making eye contact with Alicent. We're gonna bring up Criston a little bit more later. But Alicent's pressing him, obviously. Hey, what happened? And he's beating around the bush. And if you're a guy and you've been in this situation, you've done this in the past. Something along the lines of, just being like the broad strokes of the conversation, even though you know good and goddamn well what that woman is asking you about. Like, what happened? Oh, yeah, we won the battle. We got a castle. That's cool, too. He's like, what happened to my half air-fried son in his bed? He's like, oh, yeah, nah, he fought well. What did Aemond do? I don't know. Deny. And notice, Alicent enacts about her goddamn brother, who was also there. There's a nice little, hey, my brother good? I ain't see him. He alright? Then we go over to the Team Black Small Council. One of my favorite Rhaenyra moments of the season. Ser Alfred gets a tripping again, and Rhaenyra's like, hey, yo, what's going on? Is it beef? You got a problem with me? What's up? What we doing? And then Ser Alfred hit him with the mumbling, oh, well, I believe in you as queen, and you're smart, you're cunning, you're witty, but this is war, and you're a woman. And she look at him like, nigga, you ain't General Patton. You ain't been to war more than me. We ain't had no wars. Which leads back to Rhaenyra offering herself up to fight, which again, stupid plan. But if she's the one offering herself to fight, I don't see Ser Alfred out there offering himself to go fight. Rhaenyra's done it twice now. Again, stupid, shouldn't do it, but it's the thought that counts. Speaking of possibly stupid ideas, we then get to the Jace and Baela scene. Another very intimate moment between Jace and Baela. I've really enjoyed pretty much every scene they've had together. It's the closest thing to a sincere, sweet relationship we have in this show, especially now that Rhaenys is gone. So he's sitting there echoing a lot of the sentiment of what we've been seeing in the Dem Dragons discourses. Hey, is Jace gonna do something at some point? Like, hey, Rhaenyra, your son isn't incompetent, but like, can we send him to do something? He's pissed too. He's like, hey, I'm not here to play the coddled princeling. I can do stuff. And I'll be damned, he can do stuff. He takes off for the twins for another one of my favorite scenes. We will get there later. But now we go back to Daemon, who's still in the Riverlands, Harrenhal, meeting with the Blackwoods and the Brackens. So this is the scene from the trailer that we thought, oh man, Daemon's gonna set the Brackens on fire. Apparently not. He says, bend the knee or die. And then we get this sitcom ass hard cut. And he's just like, man, I didn't think they were gonna choose death. I think that was an option. And meanwhile, Willem's all mad. He's like, see, they're hard-headed. And Daemon's like, low-key, I respect it. I identify with that. It's like the Spider-Man pointing meme. They're pointing at each other like, you're hard-headed? Me too. And then he sends my man Young Blackwood to go do his bidding, do some persuading. And that to me shows that Daemon has not learned a goddamn thing from Blood and Cheese. Because you would think, hey, let's give some clear instructions. Maybe leave the women and children alone would be clear instructions. Although there's one clear instruction that the Willem fucked up, which is, hey, the crown cannot be seen doing these things. And Willem fucked that up. That was just one rule. Do what you want. Crown can't be seen to be behind it. He fucked it up. Cutting over to the Vale and the new Lady Arryn. Well, old Lady Arryn, because it's a prequel. Forgot her name. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Jane Arryn. Now, she's not Lysa Arryn level crazy. There's not a grown-ass boy that knows his multiplication tables suckling from her teats as she's having a conversation. No shots of the moon door yet. I'm hoping somebody goes through it because I love the moon door. She's not Lysa level crazy, but you can tell she a little touched. Something's a little off there. Maybe the way the crazy genes run with the Targaryen, the insert mental illness here gene runs it with the Arryns. And she's clearly not too happy about the whole, I asked for dragons and you essentially sent me iguanas. Meanwhile, poor Rhaenyra's trying her best to work it out, and it's at least she was able to stay and get fed. She ain't kick her out. God bless her. Next, we get another moment with the White Worm, Mysaria, which I'm still thankful that they turned her accent down from season 1. I went back to watch season 1 recently, and dear God, the accent damn near makes her unlistenable. It's so bad, but thankfully they made her talk like an actual person now. But Rhaenyra and Mysaria, they get to talking, and very intimate moment. I love shows where even when these things are as grand as they are, dragon fights and war and swords, and at times like, yo, these characters are also deeply insecure, and instead of showing and not telling, nah, we can show you too. And it really, the arching theme of that scene was young Rhaenyra aspired for freedom her entire life, and then she got made heir to the throne, and she is more trapped than ever. Side note, another big takeaway from this scene is more from Viserys the incompetent. Buddy, if you named her the heir, you might want to put a sword in her hand. You might want her to figure out how to fight. Even when the Eric and Ark fight was happening, I was like, how does she not know? Why does she not have a sword? And now I have the answer. Viserys never taught her because he's incompetent. But Mysaria starts telling her about the ills and the ilks of the small folk, because remember episode 9, Mysaria's tapped in. She the white worm. She got all the plugs. And she always been concerned about the small folk, which is why she tried to leverage Otto last season. Hey, you want Aegon? We got to do something about the way the small folk are living down here. So she says, hey, there's more than one way to fight a war. Whispers can be feed, which I thought was a bar. I feel like that came from the book, but I could be lying. My memory gets a little hazy. So next we get Baela and Rhaenyra. Another grieving scene of Rhaenys. I'm happy they were able to sprinkle in grieving scenes because obviously they can't really have a funeral right now. There's a war going on outside. Maybe the whole crown shouldn't all be in one place. Even gave some book backstory about how Baela's dad, Daemon, tried to claim Meleys, who was Daemon's mother's dragon. More on that later. You sneaky Dickens, you showrunners. Sneaking that in there and then hitting us with the next scene. Let me finish this first and I'm gonna deal with y'all. But the dragon said no to Daemon, went straight to Rhaenys. That and setting up that Rhaenyra's offering Corlys the Hand of the Queen job. And upon my second rewatch, I saw the slight pause in Baela's eyes when she got the box. Did Baela think she was getting offered the hand job? Pause. Did she think she was getting offered? I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments. Y'all think she thought she was getting offered a job? Because the way she made her face was like, whoa, this is such an honor. All right, now we get to my personal gripe with this episode. House of the Dragon showrunners, HBO, what are we doing? We done excused a lot of incest so far. Brother and sister, sure. Cousins, don't love it, but go for it. Niece and uncle. There's some people on Game of Thrones Twitter that ship that relationship. I think those people are weird. But hey, to each his own. We gotta draw the line at moms. If we're gonna draw the line somewhere, moms are where we should draw the line. Why did I watch Daemon eat his mama out on national television? Why? Why? I get the narrative purpose it serves, and we will get there later. We could have done this another way. There had to be another scene. I don't know how nobody in the writer's room was like, hey man, maybe not this. Whatever option 2 is, let's go with that. But we'll focus on the words as opposed to what was happening in the scene, because Daemon's little fantasy, I think, continues to paint the Daemon and Aemond mirror that this show's been alluding to pretty much since we got adult Aemond, and he put the flat iron to his hair and started doing his best Daemon impression. This is very important. So Daemon's fantasy essentially was his mom telling him, you are always better than Viserys. Yeah, he's a loving person and all that shit, but like, you got the sword. You're the dragon rider, and I've always loved you more. And Viserys said the same thing to him, that his mother always loved him more because he was a fighter. What episode was that? Whenever Daemon came back from the Stepstones in season 1, can't remember the exact episode it was. I want to say 4, but I could be lying. Sounds like 4. And if you remember episode 9, the Green Council episode, Aemond says essentially the same thing to Criston. He's like, I'm the one who trains with the sword. I'm the one who studies history. I'm the one who rides the biggest dragon in the world. I should be king. He never finished the sentence, but we know he was saying king. So they're both these rogue second sons with mommy issues. And they're going to continue to paint that mirror more and more until... So then he wakes up from eating his mom to not eating the meal with witch owl bastard lady in the back still pouring up and staring him down like an owl. Our guy Sir Simon is telling him about all the repairs that need to happen at Harrenhal because it's a shitbox. Also tells him, hey, we broke, man. Lord Larys took all our money. You gonna call your wife so she can send the PayPal over? Or we can get some, you know what I mean? And that's where he starts getting into his, nah, I'm the king. Don't even throw no consort in there. Just call me king. And the ego trip begins. Then we get to the small council meeting where Alicent gets denied the job for Queen Regent and ruling in the stead, while Aegon, they get the crust off his body. Master Orwell starts the scene with, look, I done did my black job as well as I can. It's in God's hands now. Well, the God's hands now. And Alicent proposes herself to be regent again, and every man in the room denies her. And Larys said something, while true, still fucked up. It's like, hey, we're fighting against another team, and the big crux of our argument is that a queen can't be a ruler. Why would we then make you the ruler? Which, just the patriarchy whooping her ass. Matter of fact, there's a song that plays into this very well. Can we get some Francesca Lee editing, people?
Never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Well, I turned my back on my own kind, but I somehow thought that I'd be fine. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Slow it down now. I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. It would happen to me. I turned my back on my own kind, but I somehow thought that I'd be fine. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face.
She gets passed over for her, what, 16-year-old son? And now, I wish Rhaenyra was a fly on the wall to see this and like, don't feel so good now, does it? And now back to goddamn Team Green Mrs. Otto so bad. Because the moment you hear Aemond say, hey, lock the gates. Don't let any of them leave. The small folk are starving, who cares? Keep them in here. And cut them damn rat catchers down. That was a good one, because even when they showed the rat catchers up at some point in the episode before this, I was like, how are they still up? That was 3 episodes ago. So, hey, you can't win them all. Good job, Aemond. And the small folk are starving. I'm happy Hugh's kind of our surrogate to see that, him and his sick daughter. I'm not happy his daughter's sick, but you know what I mean. This is very important. Moving on. We get to the Criston and Alicent courtyard scene, and I love this scene for a lot of reasons. But a huge theme of Criston Cole's character is shame and guilt. In fact, his villain era, quote unquote, arc started with, I sold my white cloak, it's the only thing to my fucking name, when him and Rhaenyra got to, you know. The way that Fabian Frankel plays this in this episode in particular is so good to me. And I know a lot of you have been bombing Fabian Frankel's comments. Stop being weird. He's an actor. He's doing his job. And throughout this whole episode, he wore that kind of traumatized, shook face really well. He's not even making eye contact with anybody until this scene, because Alicent is literally in his airspace and he don't got no damn choice. And I hate in any show where this massive battle happens and these super traumatizing events happen to one of the characters, and the next episode they're just fine. He's like, nah, I'm wearing this. This was painful to see. And me personally, if I see 900 of my men turn into an incense, I'm putting in my 2-week notice. That's where I clock out. But apparently he's not. He's still in it. And Alicent don't care about none of that trauma shit he talking about. She's just like, why didn't you vote me queen or regent or whatever? And then gets mad that she gets called her first name, which, let's get graphic here. If I'm able, me personally, if I'm able to put my mouth on your unwashed box, your first name can come out of that same mouth. Me personally, I can say your government name, especially if I am a part of said government. And so the Alicent is a shitty mom hive, I think I'm with y'all now. Because when she said, however Aemond turned out that way, I was like, skirt, like a record scratch went off in my head. I damn near paused the episode. I was like, wait a minute, you were there. And someone in my Instagram comments made this point. I'll show the actual comment on the YouTube version of this. It's actually 2 people. Davina DRA and Nathan Daniel Banbridge said something along the lines of, Alicent is the anti-Cersei. She tries too hard to be a good person that it makes her a shitty mom. Meanwhile, Cersei, all she care about is her kids and her brother / baby daddy. Everyone else can burn, literally. I'll let y'all decide which one's first. And we get even more of the small folk starving and trying to leave the city and revolting and pushing against the gold cloaks. This is very important. Side note before I leave the scene, they real lucky. This ain't the Daemon era gold cloaks. that were cutting off body parts and parading them through the streets. They wouldn't have tried it with them. Just saying. Then we get into Jacaerys the Negotiator and the twins, and I've never been so proud of my white nephew in my life. Finally, somebody in the Targaryen family knows how diplomacy works. He said, look, the Stark army is en route. This is very important. We need passage so we can get to King's Landing. What do y'all want? Let's stop beating around the bush here. What do y'all want? They say, hey, we want Harrenhal. And he says, all right, great. You know what I need? I need 2 bent knees and a first round draft pick. And from the looks of things, it looks like he got it. I gotta start moving through because we're getting a little long in the tooth here. Next, we get to Daemon and Alice. The same woman that gave me a spooky beverage last episode that made me trip, I would not let sew up my hand, me personally. She tells him about the escapades of the Blackwoods, snatching children, killing wives. Daemon keeps declaring himself king. Ego trip continues. We get the Corlys and Baela scene where Baela, which again, great usage rate for Baela this episode. She's awesome in every single scene. Gives him the handpin, and Corlys tries to make Baela the heir, and Baela's like, yo, I'm a dragon. You can keep all that C shit. Find someone else. Rhaenys sends Ser Alfred away. Ser Alfred's like, are you kicking me out? I was expecting her to say some lines of, what? No, I would never. But she was like, nah, I mean, you pissing me off, but like, I do need you, which is a lot more than I would admit. So shout out to her. And the last line of this scene where Alfred was like, what do you want me to tell Daemon when I get there? He was like, Tom, I want to revisit that conversation we last had. And the last conversation they had ended with, you're pathetic. So I read that as, and tell that nigga he's still pathetic. Speaking of Daemon, he's still geeking, having his little ayahuasca trip in Harrenhal, but he gets woken up by my guy Simon, and the Riverlords are outside revolting in the hour of the wolf, which is like right before dawn, so like 4 a.m. They're obviously mad that the Brackens are doing what they're doing, and they brought up the blood and cheese thing, and it's like, y'all decapitated the baby, so I don't know what you expect more of me. Daemon's like, I'll have whoever's head that said this. He's like, well, you be chopping off a lot of heads. We all believe it. We get another Lena cameo, and she's focused on the real thing. Where are our children? Why are you not with our children to know where they are? I'm not even sure if he knows that Rhaenyra's in the Vale right now. We see the handmaiden from Rhaenyra. We see Rhaenyra's handmaiden / the White Worm's assistant get sent back to King's Landing. She tells the guard, hey, White Worm sent me. And Mysaria moves the needle. So she gets in. She meets with the girl that got assaulted by Aegon last season. We'll see how that plays out. We get Aemond staring at the throne in the throne room and Haelena coming up behind him. You know, she got her visions and whatnot. So she's like, was it worth the price? Because, you know, she know what's going on. I don't know if Aemond know that she know what's going on, but we know that she know what's going on. We get the Aegon scene with Alicent by his bedside holding the hand, now finally wanting to be a parent. And Tom Glenn Carney, the actor you are. So I listened to the House of the Dragon podcast that comes out right after the episode. And they were like, yeah, we didn't tell Tom to do that breathing thing. He just did it. He just came in and did it. And it was awesome. So we kept it. And it's so good. Because obviously they had breathing tubes and shit back then. Had to mimic it. And then Olivia Cook, fantastic as always. Great face acting. Anytime you can show a bunch of emotion without saying words in the scene is incredible acting. Shout out to them. And then it ends with the whispering, mommy, all the way away. I'm pretty sure his eyes aren't open so he can like feel his mom's presence. So I'm sure that'll have some deeper meaning there later. So then we get to the final scene. All of it, every word of this scene is very important. All of it, every single piece of this scene is very important. Jace comes back, tells her, hey, secure the twins. I'm 3 for 3. You might want to send me out to be a diplomat more often, just saying. And they go back and forth. I can't do something because I'm queen. You shouldn't be able to do something because you're the heir. That's why I'm gonna keep you home. But you ignored me. I'm happy you ignored me, but motherfucker, don't do it again. And then we get to my favorite line of the episode because it summarizes the way Game of Thrones fans feel, more book readers feel, and they're so precious about source material. Where Rhaenyra says the histories of old Valyria say that only pure Targaryen and Valyrian blood can ride dragons, when he proposes that we can find more dragon riders. And he's like, yeah, the history that's made to gild us in glory and make us look awesome. And that's kind of the reason George R.R. Martin writes these books. He said it himself. The whole unreliable narrator thing is because he refuses to believe that history is passed down to us perfectly. How do everyone know this? How do we know they got all the facts right unless we build a time machine and go see it ourselves? Of course they didn't. Us as Americans, we know that's not true because we were taught Christopher Columbus discovered a country that people were already living in. So this lore that book readers are so vehemently defending and wanting them to stay truer to, guys, this is a direct contradiction to the lore in of itself because it's based on unreliable narration. and shit might not have gone the way the book says. So why would you treat the show differently if George R. R. Martin himself isn't treating it differently? Even before I close this out, even the Alice, Rivers, and Daemon stuff in the book is like, I think 2 sentences of yeah, Alice had her powers, but when Daemon was at Harrenhal, did nothing happen to him. Doesn't that sound like something arrogant Daemon would say when he gets back to talk to the Maesters and tell his story? It was like, yeah, nah, the witch ain't do nothing to me, even though he was tripping balls the whole time he was there. Doesn't that sound more accurate? Anyways, closes out with them proposing that they have So You Think You Got Talent for Dragon Riders, and they say, hey, go tame Vermithor and Silverwing. They didn't mention Sheep Stealer, Cannibal, and I feel like I'm missing a dragon somewhere in there, but I'm sure they'll discover them next episode. Again, this is very important. In the book, this was Daemon's idea. In the show, it's Jace's idea. It makes more sense for this idea to come from a teenager, if I'm being honest, so I'm not mad at it. So I think that about concludes my episode summary. I definitely know this went longer than I wanted it to, but I like the episode, man. What can I say? Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that fun shit.